G'day fellas, and welcome to the Malian build order guide. In this video we're going to be taking a look at 3 different build orders that you can start using for your games, whether that be ranked, quick match or team games. These build orders are all going to be viable for you. The first build order we're going to be taking a look at is a heavy feudal delayed town center build order. The second build order is 2 TC fast castle, and the third build order is a 1 base trade opening. So a little bit spicy towards the end, but without further ado, let's get into it. So, this is going to be the first build order. Every single villager immediately moving out over towards the to wood, and we're going to take 1 villager, we're going to pull them, and we're going to take them and start our pit mine. So just like you would do with the the Mongols rather, you're going to be sending 1 villager to go make a pit mine as they would the Uvu. So that's the difference here. Now we're going to be rallying our town center to sheep. You can see there was a little bit of a TC bug right there where the villager popped out around the opposite side, so still not a bug that has been fixed up just yet, but we're rallying the TC here to food, and we're making a whole bunch of houses around our pit mine. And what we're going to be doing with this is going to be buffing up our pit mine, and it's going to be increasing the gold per minute that it is going to be generating for every subsequent house. And you can see that we're just taking off the stragglers. That's going to be the key factor here. Stragglers in the most recent patch, so this is the patch that it will just be dropping for you guys. The stragglers are very close to the town center. Stragglers used to be much further away from the town center, but now priority needs to be on stragglers, even sometimes before you even go to the wood lines, just because of how good they are. So all you're doing is you're taking out the first straggler. That's it, 150 wood, and you're going to be using that wood just to drop down 6 houses, because keep in mind the houses for the Malians don't actually take 10 population or give 10 population, rather they only give 5 population. So you're only putting yourself up to 40 population at the moment, but keep in mind it is buffing up the passive gold of the pit mine. And we're going to be using this gold not only to age up, but we're going to be using it for lots of different stuff. You can take a look and see my beautiful little ram right there. I think he's got a warthog riding on him as well. Absolutely gorgeous stuff there. Big shout out to the devs for that one, or whoever created that. Scout just out on the map doing its typical thing. You know, you want to come into the front of your base, collect the sheep that are out there, and then move out onto the map a little bit more greedy. Through that, you're just going to continue rallying to food. Now we are going to be moving out onto wood shortly, but it's important to remember the strength of the straggler tree. We do not want to ignore this bad boy. So we'll continue watching as we continue rallying to food. Always want to be keeping 1 extra villager in queue once you're looking to age up, just because you don't want to have an idle town center. Now you will see pro players sometimes drop that off just a little bit so that they can buy a little bit of time. But Malians now going to be coming down 4 villagers at about 240, so not a terrible timing right there. And now we're going to be moving villagers out. So we're going 3 and 3. 3 villagers to the first straggler, 3 villagers to the second straggler. I know it seems weird, but because there's 150 wood in each of these trees, that's 5 trips for every single villager here. And we will be expanding out to the wood line as well. But you need to remember that the distance that you've got here between the straggler, you have a look, and the town center, it's pretty darn close. And once you put a lumber camp in there and you've made it through maybe this tree here and this tree here, the next tree in is going to be that. So, you know, you can barely fit a lumber camp in between the town center and that tree. So I think it's a very reasonable prospect to actually be taking these straggler trees. So now we're rallying villagers continually to food from here with our 6 on wood that will remain. And with this, we're going to be looking to drop down a barracks in the transition period. Now, it's going to be a little bit tight, so by the time our age up comes through, we're just going to be getting that racks down. So we're going to continue scouting out. We're going to go see what the enemy is up to. Typically, in playing as the Malians, you're going to have quite a bit of agency, just because the Donzo is such a damn strong opening unit. But we do have the barracks dropping down now at 3 minutes 50. And with this, we're going to start our Donzo production. You can see we've already got enough in the bank to begin creating that. The enemy AI has now reached the next age, so you can see that they're off doing their work, but we're not going to be too fussed about that. Now you can see we've got one more cycle to go on these trees. We've pulled 1 villager off. He's going to drop down the lumber camp, and the other villager, she's going to be going over and finishing up these houses. It's really important that we make sure that we've got maximum building coverage over on that north side, or on the pit mine. So now all of our villagers are going to be moving out over onto wood, and our villagers from the Manta Quarry also going to be coming over onto wood as well. So we're really starting to stack up wood, and we're going to be looking to drop down an archery range as well. So we're moved over onto the other side of the map. Unfortunately, Scout if this was a real game, I mean, that's a French town center. Highly likely that scout dies. I lose the scout. I lose all my information. So a little bit of a mistake there from me, but I'm sure you guys will forgive me. So we can now you can see right here the distance between a tree that's already being chopped at 4 minutes and 50 seconds and the lumber camp, and you can see how big that distance is just because of the way that villages work, and that you don't really have 5 villagers all gathering on the same tree. They kind of prefer to go out to their own individual trees, and you can see that distance from the town center is about the same. So I think it's more than viable to be going for that. Immediately opening with the double broadaxe, so that gold that you've got through from the gold vein, you're going to be utilizing that in this way. You're going to be getting your upgrades in, and at this point in the game, the only real upgrades that you can get access to are your lumber upgrades. You can also get access to your Donzo upgrade, which you're going to be getting. Typically, you want to get this bad boy as soon as you can. So maybe get 1 or 2 Donzos out, then get the upgrade, or if you really want, get the Donzo upgrade first. But dropping down the javelin, or rather the archery range, the javelin thrower building after that. Still rallying to food this entire time. This entire game, we've just been rallying to food. It's never been any different. We've never had to rally to gold, never rallied to wood. We're just moving our units, or we're moving our villagers over. Once they finish building certain things, we'll move them over. You can see we're still sitting on 10 villagers on wood at the moment, but we've got that double broadaxe in. First Donzo hits at 6 minutes, so just as the enemy French player is thinking about expanding out to a town center, we're going to start harassing this stone mine. Now, obviously, your mileage may vary. Your enemy may not be thinking about a second town center, so you might want to go and hit the gold. It depends what your scout sees. But now that archery range is going to start producing javelin throwers. They're going to start walking across the map, and it's best that you do rally them out here together. You want them to be coming out, but behind this, I should have probably mentioned this earlier. The Mansa Quarry, as soon as we aged up, should be toggled over to generate stone. This is a really, really important aspect, and you can see that it's trickling away that stone. It's incoming ever so slowly, but it does come in. We pick up a nice little knight here, a bit of a mistake from our enemy, but obviously not relevant at all. We're basically focusing on the build order here. And now we're going to be starting to go for our second pit mine. So just before 7 minutes, before we go for that second town center, we're adding in our second pit mine, and we are adding in a whole bunch of houses around it, continuing to reinforce the enemy. Now, obviously, if the enemy starts pushing you with archers, you're going to fall back with your Donzos. You're going to try and look to trade out with the archers. You throw off your javelin, and you got to wait for your throw off the it's the javelin, I guess. They've got the javelin. So yeah, javelin throw. So you throw off the javelin, and then you actually wait for your javelin throwers to come and fight against those archers and force them back. But back at home, we continue just chilling out for the moment, just throwing down more and more units, and you can see we're just making units wherever we can, or whenever we can. So you can see Donzo and javelin thrower, both of them coming in queue, and now we're doing a little bit of a roundabout coming over towards the gold, looking to prevent the enemy from there, but continuing to focus on the build order. We have now maxed out our pit mine completely, so both of these guys are going to be pulling in 90 gold a minute, so more than a relic. So basically think of this as like you've got 2 relics in the bag at this point in the game. This is massive compared to your enemy, and all that you've paid for it is housing's population that you would have had to pay anyway. I mean, you also pay the 150 gold, but let's not talk about that. Now, behind this, so you've just been spamming out units non-stop at this point, right? Like, we have been spamming out javelin throwers, we've been spamming out our Donzos. If we take a look at our military, you can see we've got 11 hardened Donzos, 5 javelin throwers. This is at 8 minutes, so this is a very decent force. You're not going to find anybody that's going to be able to deal with this force this early on if you're being defensive, okay? If you're being aggressive, it's a little bit different because your enemy's got the defender's advantage. But behind this, we are now adding in our blacksmith, and we're starting to think about our upgrades. Now, the very first upgrade you're always going to be going for is going to be iron undermesh plus 1 ranged armor. It's going to reduce the damage that you take from town center arrows. It's going to reduce the damage that you take from archers. A really, really important upgrade to get. But we can see more and more military moving out across this map, and now we've dropped down a mill. A mill's going to be really, really important to try and get out a little bit ahead of your running out of sheep. You really want to try and get ahead of that mill because you don't want to be dropping it down with this many villagers. You ideally just want to be building it with the 1 villager and then transfer those vills over. We're also researching survival techniques instead of wheelbarrow because we're going to be going into a pretty heavy expansion here. So moving out over onto the west side, looking to expand over onto the deer that are out here with our villagers. And you can see we've now got enough resources in the bag for this one. We're going to keep the Mansa Quarry on stone. You can always switch it over if you want to start thinking about aging up, or if you'd like to just keep on adding in town centers, keep it on stone. Why not? Over towards the north, we continue harassing the enemy. Quite a big army, but not a bad timing on that second town center. 9 minutes, and you really don't have to do much for it. Your enemy has difficulty scouting this as well because you're not taking any stone. So they've got no idea, unless they actually spot that town center. So we go over to the enemy. Unless they actually spot that town center, they're not going to know about the expansion at all. So it is very, very cheeky, very sneaky, and I'm a big fan of this play. Looks like on my minimap, everything's gone red. I think I've got the bug. Hold on, let me try turning it off and on again. There we go. We'll put it on there. We'll make it so that we've got purple and blue. I like these colors. I feel like these colors when they're next to each other, they look really, really cool together. So yeah, we're playing as the purple, enemy as the blue. But now that second town center is going to be coming down, so 10 minutes is when it actually finished up. We dropped it down at about 9 minutes, and the entire time we've just been rallying to food. That's the whole theme behind it. You just rally to food. This entire game we've been rallying to food. The only villages we moved onto wood were the 6 villages after we aged up, where we moved 3 to here, 3 to here. Actually, I do take that back. I think we moved one. Oh, no, we didn't. We moved 1 villager from here to build houses, and then 1 villager to build the lumber camp, and then we moved the 4 villagers from the Manta Quarry over onto the wood line. So all we're doing throughout this game is just rallying to food, and it makes it very easy because from here, if we want to add in more production buildings, we can do that. If we want to get more upgrades like the wheelbarrow, we can do that because we've got this gold trickle, this constant gold trickle. We never have to think about gold. Obviously, if we want to age up, then it's definitely going to be important for us to start thinking about gathering the gold, but it is a very strong build order, very solid, and you can definitely start thinking about adding in that third town center, playing it out in feudal. But as I mentioned before, always be cautious about playing too long of a feudal with the Malians, just because you don't want to be relying on the javelin throwers. You really want to be getting to that third age, looking to get your sofa upgrades. But we do see that is going to be the end of the first build order, and we'll dive now into the second build order, where we'll take a look at the 2TC fast castle build order. So this is a very common build order. I say build order, but more strategy option that a lot of players are going for. So people like the Muslim, Crackety here, a lot of the top players that I've witnessed have played, and I'll just quickly pause it so that we can explain a little bit first. But a lot of the top players that we've seen have done this. Now, this is a bit more of an advanced strategy because this is one of those cases where you need to be very flexible. You cannot just always stick to the plan. So the last strategy, you can do that every single game and you will be fine. Okay? You're probably going to find people that beat you. You're going to find people who execute it better than you. You're going to find people who have better strategies than you, okay? But you can do that and your plan is not going to get interrupted. With this strategy, your plan can get interrupted. Going 2TC fast castle, it is highly likely your enemy is going to be looking to make military units, maybe look to raid you with a couple of knights or a couple of horsemen, something like that. So you're going to need to be on your feet. You're going to need to be thinking, all right, well, I need to add it in Iraqs to get Donzos out here just so I can defend, but I still want to focus on getting to the castle age. So that's the thinking. That's the mindset. Let's look at the build order and take a look at what we've got. So, once again, 5 villagers going over to wood. We actually used our villager to kill the sheep. That way we don't have all of the villagers killing the sheep at the same time. Pit mine is going to get added in by that single villager as it moves down to the south. Sheep coming in, and we're, of course, rallying all of our villagers to food. And we're only doing 1 trip on this. And the reason why is because we just want to add in these 2 houses here. And that's going to be enough to get us up to the second age with perfect macro. Now, when I say perfect macro, what does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to be hitting very, very close 200 gold when we hit 400 food. We don't want to be hitting 400 food and 260 gold. We don't want to be hitting 400 food and 160 gold. We want to make sure it is 200 every single time so that we're maximizing our efficiency. And this is the way that we're going to do it. So if we continue rallying to food, we're going to have too much food. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to start rallying out over to wood a little bit early. So in the last build order, as an example, we didn't rally to wood, but here we're going to start rallying to wood with the town center, and you can see we're already doing that. So we're cutting at 9 villages is when we're going to start rallying out to wood. So I'll speed it up a little bit. Scout, obviously, out on the map, just doing its thing, gathering up those sheep, and as always, you grab your 2 initial sheep, and then move out to the front of your base, pick up your sheep, and then start moving out in the typical expansion way. And you can see we've picked up plenty of sheep back here, just from this type of scouting route, so always the best to do. So now you can see we're committing to quite a heavy play here. on the straggler trees, you're going to want to take advantage of the straggler trees that you've got around your town center. As I mentioned in the last game, or in the last build order, it's imperative. So now we'll slow it down a little bit just to explain. So we've gone 9-3-1. So 9 villagers on food, 3 villagers on wood, and then 1 villager on the mining camp. So we didn't have 50 wood in the bag before, so we couldn't have dropped down this mining camp. But now that we've got the 50 wood from this straggler here, we do have enough to get this mining camp down. So we want to minimize our walking distance, and by getting this mining camp out sooner, we can minimize that. 2 villagers on the Mansa quarry, but it is still quite an early quarry that's getting dropped down, 2 minutes 40. So that is going to come up at a pretty reasonable time. And now we see more villagers moving out. So we've got 4 or 5 villagers that are going to be coming out onto the mining camp. And to be honest, this is kind of, it might seem like a lot, but there is a method to this madness. So the rest of the villagers, we've got, once again, 3 villagers and 3 villagers back in the base that are going to be on wood. And this is where we kind of enter into a little bit of a delicate balancing act where you're judging how much or how many villagers you can get away with on food before you need to start putting villagers on food. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, well, I've got 2 villagers on food and I've got 33. I had 33 in the bank. And so I'm like, those 2 villagers are going to produce 20 food by the time I need to create another villager. I can get another one in queue. And then that's going to enable me to send this villager out to wood. And then this villager here should be the one that makes the lumber camp. I think I actually might forget to make the lumber camp here and do have a little bit of miss macro here. But once again, even once you've made the lumber camp, don't move your villagers off these immediate stragglers. These stragglers are really good value, so do try and take advantage of them. Now, one of the reasons why I do like to actually not necessarily overgather, I don't overgather my stone, but I like to gather my stone early. Number 1, your enemy may pressure you on stone with early aggression. And number 2, walking time. So when you're thinking about dropping down your second town center, one of the big factors is where are you putting that second town center. You don't want to be putting a Malian town center right next to the starting one. You want to utilize that space that it provides. So I'm opting out here, and you're going to have to walk all the way from the front of your base out to the back. So you've got to be careful with that. We do drop a house down. This is just going to be a house for population. And you can see that we still are yet to expand out towards the trees on the wood line here. But once these villagers go idle, they will remember, hey, that's right, I got to get out on that wood line. So I think they do eventually get a shift command. There you go. There you can see the shift command coming through. So we've taken advantage of all 3 of these stragglers, an extra 450 wood that you typically wouldn't have if you had just gone out onto the wood line. Age up is coming through at the moment, and we can see that we're about to hit that threshold. There we go. Now crossing it. So by the time we've even aged, or by the time we even have access to the Mansa quarry, we're going to have enough stone for a town center. So we're not going to need to put the town center on stone. We're going to be keeping it on gold this time. Once again, we've done our delicate balancing act with the villagers just to make sure that we've had enough villagers on food. And now we're going to start pulling villagers as well. That way, we're going to be able to build this town center a little bit faster. Scouting out the enemy, just seeing exactly what they're up to. So there's the 5 villagers, or there's the villagers that are coming down. So didn't actually opt out for the hunt, but this is an equally good spot. You're going to need to drop down a mill on the berries or on the hunt. So you know what? Take your pick, Drongo. I'll accept it. Additional houses now going to be coming down, and one of the key things in this build order is that you do want to keep villagers on wood. Typically, when you're doing a 2 TC fast castle build order, you want to get those villagers off wood as fast as possible so you can start working towards that age up. Well, not in this case. No, the reason why we're staying on wood here is because we want to fill out the pit mine, and we also want to think about expanding out to our second pit mine. The sooner we can do it, the better it's going to be, the stronger our economy. And so we want to really try and take advantage of that as soon as possible. We've got the second town center up. This was a pretty quick second town center. I'm not sure exactly what the timing was on when we had the resources, because that's when I consider the second TC, and I really don't consider the walking distance as part of the second TC. But I think it was about 5 minutes. So a pretty decent little spot. But still quite heavy on this. We might speed it up a little bit so that you can see what's happening. But from here, we're also just going to be rallying to food. So complete rallying to food at this point in the game. This villager going to be moving out towards the pit mine as well. And you are going to find yourself with a surplus of gold. You can see already at the moment, I think we made a little bit of a mistake. So typically, if you've got a villager out on a pit mine, you want to gather up 10 gold before you send it back. And I think I forgot to actually switch him off. And there, I've just realized now. I'm like, okay, you can come back now because we don't want him long distance mining like that. But you're going to find yourself with so much gold when you open with a pit mine like this, and you look to try and fill your houses in. You're not going to need to gather gold. Not only are you not going to need to gather gold, but you're going to have so much gold you can get a wheelbarrow. And that's what I've done here. So you can see without wheelbarrow, we'd be sitting on close to 550 gold at the moment, because that's the power of the pit mine. It is an absolutely insane amount of resources that are coming in. And just remember, you're going to have to make houses anyway with every civilization, with the exception of the Mongols. You're going to have to make these houses resources anyway. You're going to have to expend this wood. So why not do it and generate yourself a more than a relic's worth of gold? Pretty decent trade deal, I'd say. So we're continuing now to rally out to food. You can see we've got 24 villagers on food. It's still not enough, though. We still need more. And from here, once again, we're continuing to add onto the pit mines. Now, my theory, or at least my thinking, is you only want to go for that second pit mine, at least initially. You want to stabilize yourself in the third age. And then from there, you can start thinking about the third pit mine, start thinking about your cattle a bit more, because it can be difficult in the matchups that you play. You can be facing quite a bit of early aggression. You can see we're getting to that point in the game where you might start seeing or hearing those raids, those footsteps, if you're a certain player, hearing the deer and whatnot. No, hey, come on, that's a joke right there, fellas. We do have the age up now coming through, 836. Not a bad little timing. And so from there, we've done a pretty decent job of getting the age up. We've just been heavily on food. We've had these 8 villagers on wood for the entire time, and now we're going to be able to drop down double stable because we're going to be moving into double sofa production. Sofa, once they get into the castle age, are absolutely insane units. By far the best cavalry unit in the game. I'm going to say it right now, better than the French Royal Knight. Oh, I don't know about that, Drongo. Oh, that's a big call right there. The Sofa better than the Royal Knight. Better than it in the Castle Age and in the Imperial Age. I will. Oh, that's a close one, actually. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm a bigger fan than the Sofa. The Sofa's so cheap, dude. That's what I love about the Sofa. So you have a look at the price of the Sofa. 120.60. Compare that to a Knight. 140. 100. It is insane, the difference between these two. 180 versus 240. That is a massive difference. This thing is as close to the Horseman as it is to the Knight. Actually, is it 120 versus 180? That's 60 difference. Yeah, it is. It's halfway between the Horseman and the Knight. But the reality is, it feels like an even better Knight, honestly. So we've gone with the Grand Fulani Corral here. We've just used a handful of villagers to go up with it. I say handful, 10 villagers, 2 handfuls of villagers to go up, and that's going to be a good game. I scared myself there. I was going to continue talking. You can see we rallied the first cow out towards our pasture, and we were going to start doing that, and we're also going to be making some cavalry, boys, except I don't think that produces cavalry once we've finished off the replay. So there you go. That was the build order. So now we're going to be moving into the next build order, which is probably even a little bit more advanced, but I suspect it's probably going to start coming up quite a bit. This is a bit more specialized, I would say, to certain maps. So if I was going to pick out maps, you know what, I'm kind of tempted. Let's just go back. I just want to have a look and see the map pool, just to get a bit of an idea about what kind of maps you could use this strategy on specifically. So definitely Dry Arabia, definitely Lipany, definitely Highview. Definitely the Pit. The Pit is one of the best maps to do it on, actually. I'm not going to talk about Mountain Pass because it's a meme map. Ancient Spire is probably a bit harder to do it on. Mediterranean, I don't know. I mean, you'd want to probably fight water on that map. Anyway, Altai, definitely, probably one of the best maps as well. Hill and Dale, definitely another really good map. So there's a lot of good maps here that you can do this strategy on. So basically, what am I looking for? What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about corner trading posts. That's the big thing for me. I'm thinking about the maps that spawn trading posts in the corner. So if we take a look at Hill and Dale as an example, it has got a perfect trade route for you as the Malians. Why? Because it's so easy for you to wall up that trade route and get maximum value. They're the two big factors. How easy is it to wall up? How easy is it to get maximum value? And you can see right here, we've got the trading post in the corner, always spawns right up here. And then, so that means that we're going to be dropping our market down in this corner, and it means that it's a very easy wall off. Look at this. You wall across here, boom, that's secure. You wall up towards the north, one wall here, another little cute wall there. There's your third wall across, boom. Well, I mean, and then you want to probably wall that as well, but that's it. You're completely walled in, and then you've got a wall in the front, but that's going to be your main fighting point. That's going to be your main choke point. And then behind that, you're just getting maximum value trade. So all of those maps that I mentioned, Altai, Lipany, Dry Arabia, Highview, you're going to be able to get very high potential trades. At least sometimes you can get the high potential trades on Dry Arabia, Lipany, Highview. Sometimes it does kind of muck you around. So do watch out for that. But the Pit, that's a 10 out of 10. Altai, that's a 10 out of 10. Hill and Dale, you take the cream off the top. That's a 10 out of 10. If you get the meme, write it in the comments. King of the Hill, definitely not a good map to do it on. For anybody who doesn't know, King of the Hill doesn't have a trading post. So don't do it on King of the Hill. Not going to work there. And I'm not going to talk about any of the other maps. So let's get into that replay, though, and just show you exactly what that looks like when you're doing this strategy And the best way that you can time it and make sure that that what you're doing is functional, because I can assure you that this has been pretty well refined. I've gone through, I've made sure everything is perfect. So once again, 5 villagers over to the straggler. It's very, very common, very, very popular. And you're going to see players, or you're going to see people doing this all the time now that stragglers are so close to the town center. Look at how close they are. They used to be so far away. And of course, that one villager going out to the pit mine. No surprises there. It is just going to be your standard opening here. We'll speed it up a little bit. Once again, rallying to food, and we had a little bit of a TC annoying bug right there. Moving out to the middle with the scout, you can see we almost made a mistake right there. Glad I picked that one up. And we are gathering full gold here, but not only, or rather full gold, not only are we gathering a full straggler, we're going to be going onto a second straggler here. Now, you've got to be careful with moving onto a straggler close to a wood line, because your villagers will do this. See that? It just bugged out. Did you see that? He just bugged out for no reason. He chopped down the tree and he's like, oh, I don't like, now I'm not gonna do it. So you got to watch out for that. So you're only going to gather 50 wood from this tree. That's it. And the reason why is because we're just filling out the pit mine. We don't want any more than that. We don't want to get enough resources for a lumber camp. We don't want to do any of that because we're going to get our resources from the stragglers already. Little beautiful, beautiful micro right there, Drongo. Beautiful macro, rather. And we're just rallying right now completely to food. We're going to stick it on food because, as you can see, we talked about this a bit earlier. 211 gold, 90 food. It's not the prettiest, but just remember, the sooner we get this ticking, the better, because now we're earning 90 gold a minute right now, which is the equivalent of, like, what, 2 vills? So we're up 2 villagers on our enemy already this early in the game, and that's going to continue ticking the longer it stays alive. Now, pause. Why are my villagers heading away? I'm asking the classroom. Correct. We're going to the Saharan Trade Network. So that means that we need to identify a position to place the Saharan Trade Network. Now, this is a landmark that is very, very important that you place it correctly. If you mess this up, it will cost you immensely. And I didn't mean to rap or rhyme that, but, you know, it just happens naturally. It comes naturally to me sometimes. So what are we doing? Number one, we're trying to locate our trade post. That is number one. That is the biggest thing. Where is the trade post, and how are we going to take advantage of it? So there's the trading post. We've located it. And so now our market is going to be in this back corner because we want to make it as defensible as possible. So you don't want to put it up here, even though it might look a little bit nicer to have them, you know, sort of parallel or running across, parallel to the edge of the map. No. Always to the corner. It's much safer, much easier to protect, much better for you. So always do that. So that's the first thing that we're looking for. And then the second thing is what is the route that we're going to be traveling on? So you can see that we're a little bit affected here by this forest here. There's probably about, what, 25 trees in here. So we're affected by this. So the route may run behind these trees, or it may run in front of these trees. So I've made the decision here. I've said, okay, well, I don't know. If I come up here and I put my salt and honey trade network, wrong civilization. If I put don't worry, I'll get it eventually. I said it before, the Saharan trade network, sorry, not the salt and honey trade network and the Saharan trade network. They're bloody close to each other, aren't they? So if I put it on this side, there is a good chance that the traders, which need to go past it, by the way, will just go around this side. So I said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to just stick it smack bang right there, as close as we can get. And then that way we're guaranteed to pick up the income from that. And you can see I'm still thinking about it at the moment. And I'm like, all right, there we go. So that circle, that is the radius that it's going to affect. So the traders are going to come in from this market in the corner. They're going to usher themselves all the way in. They're going to come underneath. They're going to pick up the gold right here. And then they're going to decide whether they want to go back that way or whether they want to come back that way. But they're going to come through, and they're always going to hit this. Beautiful. Now, this does also act as an outpost, but look, it's not a big deal. It's nice because you can garrison inside it, but that's not the main reason why we've got it. So anyway, we've now aged up. Where to from here? Let's take a look at how we continue moving forward from here. So once again, straggler trees. Now, we've moved 5 villagers onto this straggler tree because we've already taken some off this. So you can see that we've got 100 off this one. Or rather 50 off this one, which gives us 100. So for me, it's all about, you know, making sure we've got these smaller efficiencies, because if you've got villagers walking back to front or back and forth, but they're only dropping off 2 or 3 or 4 wood, that's not efficiency. So for me, it's all about those little efficiencies. And now you can see we've dropped that one off, and immediately we drop down the lumber camp over on the wood line because we're going to start needing to take advantage of that. And now we've got a villager moving out. Now this villager is a little bit late to the party. I will give you guys the heads up here. This villager is slightly late to the party. I would have loved him probably to have gone out 20 seconds earlier, so maybe the villager before. But once again, we're doing our balancing act. You can see we've got as many villagers. We're greeting as many villagers on wood as possible while maintaining villager production. So that's always going to be something to remember. So 4 villagers on sheep is all you're going to need to be maintaining that villager production. So that's 4 times 10, and it does take a little bit shorter than 20 seconds to get it in, so you are going to be fine. But now you can see these villagers are all moving out to the wood line, so we're not stopping at the straggler. We're not interrupting these guys on the straggler because these guys have already got their plans in motion. And we can see right now 20 out of 150. So once they've gone onto this, straight away it's going to be onto the wood line. So they'll drop off and then they'll come back out. It's all about these small efficiencies that are going to buy you precious seconds in the early game. So now, instead of moving these villagers back all the way over to the wood line, we've got them out here. Why do we have them out here? Because we're going to need them out here as we continue to drop down outposts. That's the whole idea behind this strategy, because we want to utilize toll outposts, which are going to be helping out and buffing up our economy. So first thing we're going to be doing is dropping a market next to the trade post. This is going to be our main market. This is going to be the guy who's pumping out traders all the time, and it's the first one that we're going to be dropping down always. Now you can see behind this we've actually gone over a little bit too many villagers on food, but that's okay. I'll forgive myself for it for the moment. And villager up towards the north, very unfortunate on this wolf as well. I probably could have run all the way to the corner, but I didn't want to risk it. I just said, you know what, we're just going to kill him. We'll take out the wolf. So he does delay our market by about 5 or 6 seconds. It's a small detail, but not a huge one. So now what we're going to be doing is doing the market trick. Now, I do always explain this when I do it, just simply because it might be the first time you're watching a video where the market trick is happening. How do you do it? Why do you do it? That's a great question. So just to explain it. So whenever you do trade in Age of Empires 4, your trader is going to need to go from the market where it spawns. It's going to need to come out to the trade post. It's going to need to collect the gold, and then it's going to need to come all the way back to the market and drop off that gold. But what if I told you you can cut your travel time in half? That is correct. There is a market trick that you can do that makes your travel time on the first trip, on the very first trip, only the first trip. So you get the first time, it's 50% off, and all the subsequent times you're paying the full price. A little bit of a mistake here from me, but that's okay. Would you take that? Of course you would, and that is why we do this market right here. So what we're doing is, as you can see, your trader has got different commands that he can utilize. He can use trade, set home market, attack move, because traders are known for their vicious attack moves. We've got stop, garrison, stand, and delete. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this market. As soon as this market is built, we're going to take it and we're going to shift click. We're going to hold down shift and we're going to click this market up here. And whilst holding shift, we're going to click back towards this trading post. And what this is going to do is it's going to spawn the trader, and it's going to say, hey, trader, I want you to start by setting your home market towards this market in the north of the map. And then after that, I want you to go and collect gold from this trade post. And that's exactly what it's going to do. And instead of walking all the way across the map to pick up the gold, he walks a couple of tiles, and voila, we now have 173 gold ready to go. And that just brings your trade game online so much earlier, and it enables you to really get into trade much quicker than what you would typically be able to do, because you just have to wait so much longer. Now, every time that you do this, keep in mind your Salt and Honey trade network, or rather your Saharan trade network, sorry, wrong civilization, Saharan trade network is going to be giving you, here it comes, 17. Now, this is dependent on how good your trade is, and this is part of the reason why you want to really maximize the distance that you've got up here. Now you can see we actually just made this little bad boy down here. That's because our economy is so strong at this stage, we can actually support double trader production. If we were just to make traders out of this, we'd be doing okay for ourselves, but we're still going to have enough resources where we can actually produce out of both of these guys without losing it. You can see this guy is going to be getting up here with 173 gold. He's going to be able to support my addiction 3 times more. I'm going to be able to get 3 more hits with this single trader once he gets up there. And it's not too long before he gets there. And keep in mind, we've still got the gold trickling in from the pit mine as well. So now we've dropped down a stable. You know what time it is. It's time for the sofa. We're going to utilize the gold that we're bringing in here as a way to sort of leverage the power of the sofa. And we're also going to start walling off. One of the key things that you need to do if you're playing a trade style game is you need to start walling off the map. You need to control the narrative. Where can your enemy attack? Don't let them attack certain places on the map. I'm going to pause the game because this is really important to talk about. When you're playing up against an enemy, don't let them control the story about, oh, well, I'm going to attack you here and you're going to have to defend it. No, you wall up and you say, hey, if you want to attack me, you come through the guts. Otherwise, you're going to have to burn down my wall and I'm going to be there to meet it. You control the narrative. You control the game. That is the way you want to do it. You want to minimize the amount of space that your enemy can come through. And eventually, you want to make it so that there's nowhere that your enemy can come through. You want to seal off this trade line. You want to make it like it's just held nice and safely behind a wall. It does kind of remind me of one famous trade line. It carried a lot of silk, let's just say that much. You want to build giant walls for your traders. You want to protect them. You want to make them safe, and you never want your enemy to be able to touch them. But until you actually reach that stage, you're going to need to defend them, and with that, you're going to be using the sofa. And the reason why is because the sofa is the fastest unit that you've got access to, with the exception of the warrior scout, but the warrior scout is quite weak, so I would typically avoid using it. We can see now that our traders are coming in and our gold income is really starting to get spicy. And we're going to continue adding in more traders. We can see we've got 2 in the queue at the moment. And we're going to add in a second market. Now, you look at this and be like, this is a town center. Yeah, this is like a town center, bro. This is a town center that cost 100 wood. That is how efficient these traders are. And these guys are pumping out resources. And remember, every single time you're going past a toll outpost, with a little apostrophe next to it, up to a total of 5, you're going to be pulling in not only gold, but food as well, because of the Saharan Trade Network. If you want to see, pause the video now, exactly what that landmark does. But you can see 8 and 17 gold pulled in here. And look at this. You've got traders coming out on both sides. So this is part of the reason why I didn't put the Saharan Trade Network there. And there you go. Another 8 and 17. You've got traders on the left side, traders on the right side of this. And we went for the safe spot right in the middle. But once again, as soon as they come in, they're going to be picking up their resources and depositing more resources that you're just going to be... It's a Ponzi scheme. Let's just put it that way. It's a Ponzi scheme with traders and gold and food. And it's amazing. And only the Malians can do it. They got the best trade in the game. And this is just, you know, it's insane. Now, the question is, how well are you going to be able to defend this? And the answer is probably not that well. So in the early stages of the game, you're going to be relying a lot on using your toll outposts to try and keep your traders alive. Now, the best way that you're going to be able to do that is by commanding your traders to garrison inside. And then it gets a little bit harder because you've then got to... I'm not even going to tell you how to do it. It's so difficult at the moment. I probably shouldn't say, but I've spoken to the devs about it. I've said, hey, this needs to be revisited, because when you've got traders in the back of your base and you tell them, hey, guys, garrison inside this toll outpost, and everybody gets inside and you're like, well, you can see these guys are carrying gold in their pockets. Well, once they enter into the toll outpost, they're not carrying gold in their pockets anymore. So you don't know which ones had the gold and which ones didn't, because you can see these guys don't have gold because they're not carrying any gold. Whereas this guy here, well, that guy just had gold. There we go. You can see right there, that guy right there, he's got gold. This guy's got gold. So that's how you're meant to identify it. But anyway, I digress. So adding in more pit mines. Eventually, when you need to put your houses in, don't just put them around willy-nilly. Think about your future children and look to put them on pit mines. Prioritize large gold veins. If you've got them available to you, then always look to prioritize larger gold veins, especially if they're safer. This one for me is very safe. You can see it's at the back on the edge of the map, far away from my enemy, close to myself. So that's what I'm going to be prioritizing. And now we're starting to wall up the map, and you can see we're looking for these choke points that are already on the map, and we're going to look to wall those. So I could have said, you know what, I'm just going to wall across here, and I'm going to wall the entire way. That's expensive, and it takes a really long time. So instead, I'm just going to look for these choke points, and I'm going to wall them instead. And so slowly, I'm going to wall across the entire map, just using those choke points. Now I make a little bit of a mistake right here. I think technically I probably should wall across here, but I do kind of cut my hunt out, and that was my thinking. I'm like, well, I kind of wanted the hunt in, so we'll just make it safe, and I give myself a weird little position there. It did kill an enemy scout, but that is essentially it. I mean, when it comes to the build order, that's the big focus of it. It's the early game, right? From here on in, you're on your own. It's the freestyle, but you can see that you've set yourself up with an insane economy. We're at 1,800 gold a minute at the moment, 22 traders at 11 minutes into the game. Crackety here would be proud of this stuff. And make sure that you always max out your toll outpost. You can see this one here is at 4 out of 5. We're going to be getting in the 5th outpost shortly. I did realize that this outpost here is missing a lot of the traders because once once again, they made a decision to go on the opposite side of the wood line. So you're always got to be careful, always got to foresee this. And now you can see I'm adding in that 5th outpost again. If we take a look and see how many outposts we've actually got across the map, you can see there's the 4th one, 5th one down here, and then of course our 6th one being this one. And the reason why we've got 5 is because this one is missing out. So you could pretty much delete this outpost and you would be fine. But you can see right now, this is why you can't delete the outposts, because if you did delete, or you guys get what I mean, right? Maybe this outpost should probably be like right here in the middle, but the AoE is kind of small. So yeah, anyway. So I think that's going to be it for this video. Those are the 3 strategies. Let me know which one you like best. For me personally, I think I'm probably going to be sticking with option 1. Option 1 feels like the best. The heavy feudal delayed town center makes a lot of sense. You can put pressure on your enemy, kind of annoy them. You can get out there before their town center gets down, because remember, the town center's nerfed now. And then you can eventually get your own town center out there as well. That's definitely my favorite one. Which one do you like? Anyway, if you've got any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'll get back to you. And hey, guys, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.